I just started to record.
Oh,
Awesome.
And I guess I should share my screen. And maybe we should go back. We left one question unanswered from day 4. Maybe we should start by seeing whether we can figure that out, because I couldn't figure it out. So let me share my screen.
Oh, you know, I better switch to my computer so I can see tiny screens. But I don't think you have to do it. I don't think this will be seamless for you, hopefully.
I see your screen.
You can see my screen?
Yep.
What do you see?
I see our Skype window, and I see the general Skype window behind it, and then the Word document behind that.
Oops, sorry.
There we go.
So this is the sample that we wondered about last time. This one here, beginning of samples 4.2. And so the question is for you, Sadie, primarily, I guess. Are you reading or what? And here's the video.
We've got at 9:53. I was saying the word, but not really saying. I'm scare quote saying the word can't. And I was at the syllable, the NT syllable, and my mouth was in that shape, sort of like I was about to make a T sound. But I only noticed my mouth was that shape after the beep. So I didn't have the experience right before the beep. I also wrote the meaning of the word weren't present at the moment before the beep, though they were the moment before that moment. The computer screen, and specifically a blank part of it, was present in my awareness. I was looking at the patch of white space, the one that I was planning to fill with text next. And I had a very distant, vague sense of planning what I was going to write.
Oh.
So to break it down, the
The
main part I was thinking was I just sort of said can't in my head. And right before the beep, I was at the NT of can't. And after the beep, I felt that my tongue was like at the T, about to make a T sound. And then also, I was aware of my computer screen and a little blank patch of white.
So the question is, are you reading can't on your screen, or are you commenting, or what?
No, I think we're about to type it.
Yeah, that's what I thought too.
So you're about to type it, but you're not typing it?
Not yet, yeah.
Okay. So this is not in sync with the typing. Is that right? Is that what you're saying?
That's correct.
This is a thought possibly that later would be typed, or maybe a second later, or a bit later maybe typed.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I think that answers that question.
Good deal. On to day 6.
On to day 6. That's right.
This seems like straightforward inner speech to me.
So I'm having trouble hearing you, Sadie.
Oh no! I'll type in the chat.
I don't know that you have to type in the chat. Just get a little closer to the microphone. And,
Okay. But straightforward inner speech.
Perfect. Oh, I like how it appears. That's useful.
Cool.
Yeah.
And I guess I have the same kind of question as I had before. Is this part of what you're going to type, or is this a comment that you're making to yourself, or what's the?
I suspect it's what I was just about to type right afterwards. Oh wait, oh no, I'm sorry, no. We're on a new day. No, I'm outside and I'm walking and I'm talking to myself in my head.
Mm. And I guess I would push back maybe a little on the inner speech, because this is not in a voice, which is what we would call inner speech. But I think if by inner speech you mean I'm talking to myself, then I'm in agreement. But this is more like words present.
Oh. Yeah, it's not in a voice. It's not in a voice at all. So that's words present. Got it.
Which, again, is really just kind of a terminology thing. I think there is something communicative. There is a saying to myselfness about it that is still relevant, but we reserve speech for when there's a voice.
Okay, that makes sense.
And it's single worded again, word by word.
Yeah.
Okay. Everybody happy with that?
Good.
Inner singing.
Yeah, inner singing. And maybe splitting hairs again, but it looks like at the time we wrote this, we thought that this was more a hearing experience as opposed to a singing.
Yeah.
Does that still seem right, Sadie?
That seems right. So
It's like the chorus of my voice is playing for me.
right.
Like that?
Yes. And it's a visual sensory awareness.
Okay.
Same.
And so here is inner singing, it looks like.
Yep.
Yeah, too high pitch, yeah. That one looks good then. So Number 4 is one of our nothings, and I'm struggling to recall the little table.
Yeah, I'm looking for it.
Yeah, nothing of nothing, right?
So this is the experience of nothing. Is that right? There's
Right. Yeah. A slight experience of nothing, so maybe a little more like a 1.5 than a 2, I think, but
not a 1, not this row.
right, yeah.
Yep.
'Cause she has a sense of the nothingness.
Kind of remote though, right?
Well, I guess we leave it sort of ambiguous in what we wrote when we had the chance. Mostly it's nothing, which would be 1,
Right.
or perhaps it's experience just slightly beyond nothing. So maybe 1.3.
Right. Somewhere between 1 and 1.5.
Right.
Yeah. And then, yeah, sensory awareness, tactile or bodily or whatever.
Something like that.
Yes. Good to me.
And then we haven't included this portion yet, but there's not much to include.
Yeah. I don't even know if it's really worth adding in there.
Yeah.
Can't even really count it, you know?
Yeah.
It's a little something that breaks into the nothingness almost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe we should write it down. All right, number 5.
Yep.
Sensory awareness.
Mm.
I would say in our lexicon, this would be ambiguously sensory awareness. Hard to know whether it's sensory awareness or whether you're trying to figure something out.
Right. Like there's maybe some kind of analysis going on, but it's happening visually or perceptually instead of like a full-blown cognitive thing.
Yeah.
Right. So there's seeing involved.
Yeah. And maybe sensory, yeah, sensory awareness question mark, I would put, yeah.
You mind that?
Yeah.
All right, number 6.
I think that's nothing. That's type 1 again.
Right. Well, I guess we say it's the same as 6.4, which we basically said is 1 or maybe 1.2, something like that. I don't, has she even had a true type 1 where her experience was of nothing? I don't recall, but it seems we're learning there's really a gradation between 1 and 2 that is relevant here. There's like a there's like a, I've definitely got a sense of something churning, but it's nothing. It's not specified. It's whatever, which is a 2. But then there's I've got a really vague sense even of the churning, and it's nothing.
Yeah.
Right.
Is that what you guys are? Okay.
I also think that maybe I like added in the vague sense of something else just so I wouldn't have nothing in my head because it's embarrassing.
Well, and it's a hard thing to believe, to, that's a tough presupposition to bust past, that I could possibly be doing things and writing and et cetera, and yet there's nothing in my direct conscious experience.
Yeah.
So I think that's true for a variety of people in a variety of situations, and it might seem, which is maybe why Sadie would be embarrassed or whatever to report about it, that would be somehow deficient, defective. But I don't think that's necessarily true. I think we are Western psychology operates pretty much in ignorance about the way people's experience really are. And I've sampled with some people that I'm pretty sure have no inner experience, who are quite successful, intellectually competent people, and I'm quite sure they have no inner experience at all.
Yeah.
They're more the exception than the rule in my experience, but I don't have enough. My sample sizes aren't big enough. I've sampled with a couple hundred people probably, but the people that I have sampled with are not a random sample of the world.
Yeah. And another reason why you have to spend time with people and not just, get a one shot what's going on with you, because we are all prone to say there's, or to find something.
Right. But I would also say that the distinction between absolutely nothing in experience and almost nothing in experience is probably not a very interesting distinction.
Yeah.
It might be interesting to somebody who was really into distinctions, but I don't think it's particularly interesting to somebody who's interested in phenomena.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
I would just round down to 1 probably.
You would which?
I would round down to 1 probably.
Yeah.
On the one we were just talking about?
On both of them.
Yeah. 6-4 and 6-6.
Yeah, unless we've got a really good reason to round down, I would rather leave it as we don't really know. Because I think, Sadie obviously has a perspective on the world that isn't the same as mine. These are her samples, whatever. But I don't give her credit for being an absolute infallibility.
Yeah.
Any more than I give myself infallibility. I think we're all short of infallibility. Everybody that I know, let's put it that way. Or maybe there's some infallible person out there that I didn't recognize it. On to day 7.
Yep. This is, identical to the Kant example, is it not? She's saying to herself something she's going to write later. It's not in a voice. It's one worded at the time of the beep.
Yeah.
So the Kant was even less than one word, I think. The Kant was just half of a word.
It was, yeah, you're right. It was just the NT portion.
So I would say this is words present, talking to the self, whatever we wrote about that.
Yeah, you put like hyphen saying to myself hyphen, I think. Yeah, exactly, yeah.
And the one we're just talking about is this exactly.
Yeah.
Is
7-1
this
is the same as 6-1, yeah.
this is but this is even less than word by word.
Well, no, 4 something was the portion of can't. 6.1 is the word a. So it is a word. It's a very short word, but it's a word.
Okay. So 6.1 and 7.1 are the same.
They are, yeah.
Okay. So I've forgotten the 6.1 and 4 point whatever.
Yeah, I can't
I
remember.
confused them. So we're saying that this is.
Yeah. And so here is another
1.2.
yeah, words present, but it's letter present really. There's almost a corollary here of the denial of words thing that we sometimes point out, the way that she's just really experiencing J, and it's not even the J of Justin, it's just J. Like, as she like doesn't want to know Justin or something.
I'm not too willing to go there yet. Maybe you can convince me, but it seems to me that if she's typing and she's typing one letter at a time, Justin, that isn't really a denial. That's just
Yeah,
sort of,
I had forgotten about the typing. That's true. That's pretty sync with typing, yeah. Or consistent with typing. Guess she's not in sync with it. But.
and do we really want to say saying to myself?
I don't think as much with this one as the others. And then the latter half sounds like a pretty true type 2. Do you guys agree?
Yeah.
I agree. So what are we calling that?
Oh, yeah. Thinking / nothing, yeah.
So this is a visual sensory awareness.
Yes. Cool one.
And then another visual sensory awareness.
Right. With some kind of meaning, almost analytical, but like the no dots has meaning to her.
So I agree with the fact that the lack of dot or the dot would have meaning for Sadie.
Mm.
But whether that's in her experience directly at the moment, my understanding, my recollection of my understanding is that it wasn't, that this was a sensory awareness of an absence. but not a cognitive, oh, this is a house finch or whatever.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. It seems kind of like the soil one, like I'm noticing the darkness for its depth perception significance. And here I'm noticing the dotlessness for its significance, but maybe not. Yeah, I agree. There's no thought per se, but there's, yeah.
It seems like there's some kind of a continuum of how purely sensory as these things are.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes things are purely sensory, like maybe the streaks, but for sure things like the brown shininess of the deck and the.
Yeah.
So there are sometimes purely visual sensory things, and sometimes the sensory things are more or less goal oriented, instrumental oriented.
Yeah.
By that.
Yes.
And it's actually sensory awareness of an absence.
Yeah.
Onward.
Mm-hmm. Sounds like a type 2 again.
Yep. And then a visual sensory awareness.
Yeah. Yeah. And would you call it an auditory sensory awareness of the Peter, Peter, Peter sound?
Yes, specifically direction focus.
Yeah.
Yeah, with the direction focus, right?
And so I would say maybe it's part of the instrumental thing that my understanding of that was that it was sort of in between a sensory awareness and oh, there's a bird over there, should I look at it?
Yes.
Kind of a thing.
Today was much more exciting. I found some migrating warblers.
Ooh.
Yeah.
It sounds like your goal in moving to be with the birds has been very effective.
It really has. There was also like 4 pileated woodpeckers here this morning. They're huge.
Crazy. All right, where are we?
Number 5.
Yeah. Oh, here we go. We get to play with a new cell in our table. There's some content present.
So the content is distinctly present. So we're in this column here.
Okay.
Yeah. But it's still kind of inchoate, right?
Yeah.
It's vague. We don't have all of the content, but we have some explicit content.
Yeah.
So maybe we don't have a number for it, like a 6 if we're going like clockwise.
Well, it seems so we're in agreement that it's in this column.
Yeah.
And it seems to me that it's either in this row or maybe in this row, somewhere between these two rows.
Yeah. I agree with that.
They're distinctly present. The ideas are distinctly present, but the vague sense of thinking.
Yeah.
So maybe just this row. Second row, third column.
Yeah. Can you recall this one at all, Sadie? I'm wondering if we all were calling this like a vague sense when really that's just how wondering kind of things go. There is something vague about them because there aren't words. They're just I'm amusing, you know?
I think that actually I was pretty clear on thinking those two things. They just weren't in words. So I would actually put it in 5, self-talk.
Yeah. Like the vagueness is really just that there's not explicit words. I'm not,
Yeah.
quote unquote, do not fall down the stairs.
Yeah.
Okay. So what we're saying here is that this is not really very accurately written.
No,
No, I was
it's
just,
just an unworded thinking.
yeah.
Like that.
Yeah. So then it would be a type 5.
Yeah. And then there's a seeing, which is not a sensory awareness.
Right.
We happy with that?
So in 7.6, I'm definitely thinking, I have no idea what I'm thinking about.
So that's type 2.
A type 2? Okay.
Is that right?
Yeah, I think that's it.
Which is what we called 7.4.
Mm-hmm. And we said this is
Also,
like
we called 7.2.
good. And a barely there visual sensory awareness.
I'm buying that. This is also on the edge of what we have called creative. Because the parallel alignedness is not really what you would generally see, I guess.
Right. She's kind of pulled out that characteristic.
On the number 8?
Yep.
Directly experienced but completely unspecified. Isn't that type 2?
It is, but it does seem different than the other type 2.
In what way?
Well, I'm not thinking hard, I'm just like waiting. Whereas in the last one, I was like, I definitely had the experience of thinking. When I was looking around, where I was just existing.
Should we even call this one thinking, or is it really just waiting?
Yeah, I think it's more waiting. There's no thinking.
I wonder if that's why we grappled with the internal versus external thing going on here.
Yeah.
Because I think you were pretty clearly trying to tell us, like, this one's different. Maybe it's because I'm waiting for some external stimuli to catch my eyes. Maybe it's also because this isn't really thinking, it's waiting.
Yeah, I definitely wasn't thinking.
So does that characterize this? Or
Good
this
enough for me.
blank is blank better?
Right. One has a kind of expectant quality. Waiting seems to suggest you like know something's coming.
Right. And then there is a pure sensory awareness, it seems to me.
Yeah, visual.
The whiteness of the breadcrumbs was not really part of the actual interest. You're wanting to know whether the minnows were going to move the breadcrumb around, but
Right.
that doesn't really have anything to do with the whiteness.
So the first half of this one is blank too.
Seems to me.
Yeah, and inner singing too high.
What did we call that? Not too
I
high.
think you called it too high before.
Huh?
I feel like I used the word pitch.
Oh. At a too high pitch, yeah.
And there's something about singing along.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's inner karaoke.
Yeah, right.
And was that true about the other one?
What's that one?
I don't remember that one.
Yeah, it was also inner karaoke.
So there is it the case that in 6.3 you hear just you sing just your voice, but you also hear the background and
Yeah.
so we're going to add to here. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
8.3.
So what was that number that we just left?
8.2 we just did.
No, the one that was too high.
Oh, 6.3.
Wow, good memory.
Got him. Useless memory for numbers.
So this is the kind of thing that I believe we decided that we did not think was sensory awareness.
Well, we've been saying sensory awareness may be instrumental. That's what we've been saying.
Yeah, but this one is more at the instrumental end.
Yeah. Yes, it's right. The purposefully looking. Yeah. This one is instrumental. You're right.
Like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a blank.
Right. The blank again. The waiting kind of thing.
So we called this before, we decided not to call it waiting. We decided to call it blank. But
Yeah.
this one does seem to be a waiting.
Yeah.
Yeah. We said expectant. I think we ought to call this one a waiting.
And so at the time of the sample, we made the distinction between one waiting for internal and one waiting for external. But today it seems like we're thinking maybe one is more waiting and the other is more nothing.
Yeah.
And are we talking ourselves into that, or Sadie, you have an independent recollection of that?
I think that's correct.
Which?
The waiting versus nothing, blankness versus the two.
So I'm going to highlight that. Does that characterize what we're saying?
Yeah. Yep. Number 4.
Okay. So we're pretty sure what this is.
Mm-hmm.
And sensory awareness tactile.
Yeah. And all of that is not 100%, but there's not a directly experienced blankness like in the other ones.
So would that
Nothing.
be number 1?
Oh, yeah. Right. Nothing of nothing. Yeah. Okay.
You know, I really experienced the waiting in the moment. I think I knew afterwards that I was waiting.
For this particular 8.5 or?
Yeah, for 8.5.
So well, this is really blank or nothing?
Yeah. So this is not like the bands on the fish where I'm waiting for the sense of familiarity. This is nothing. And then after I can say, well, maybe I was waiting for something. Okay.
That's what we thought. Why did I highlight this in yellow? Does anybody know why I highlighted it?
Well, in your comment, you say that you had a different take. You thought the waiting was experience. And I don't want to talk you into that because I'm now doubling down on my original understanding of it. I recognize, but
Sadie's on your side.
and it doesn't make too much of a difference because even if the waiting was experience, it'd be like 1%. So it sounds like.
No, the waiting is 99%.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, right. Okay, sure. All right.
So I'm going to say we really don't know about the waiting.
Yeah.
I'm not disagreeing with you all. I think you all probably are right, but it seems we got to honor what we thought at the time or what I thought at the time.
Yep. We did it.
So that's the end of that deal. And Sadie, we generally encourage people to ask whatever questions they want, and we could take a few minutes to do that now, or we could schedule a time later on where you can more thoroughly specify questions or whatever.
Let's do it later. I've got a lot of questions.
Oh, good.
Okay. Then let's figure out when we're going to do it.
Yeah.
And so the instructions for that, Sadie, is you should feel free to ask absolutely whatever you want to ask and not feel compelled to ask anything that you don't want to ask. And at the same time, we should feel free not to answer anything that you want to ask. You know, that if we don't have the answer, we'll tell you that we don't have the answer. And if we have the answer, but we think it's none of your business, can't imagine that we would think that. But if we did, we should be free agents, and we should be able to say that. So what I'm encouraging that in the world according to Hurlburt, that's the ground rules for having an honest conversation. Basically, you get to ask whatever you want to ask, and we get to answer whatever we want to answer, and we'll try to do the best we can.
Okay, great.
And you can be organized about your questions, like have a list of questions, or we can wing it. I don't. That's really your. You get to decide, right?
Like a true reporter. She already has her questions ready.
And what we will do in the meantime is we will try to organize a summary of what we think here. So you and I have to set up a time too, Alec, to do that.
Yeah. I'll get back to you on that.
All right. All right. And I guess I said in the meantime, but I don't really mean in the meantime. Sometime we need to do that.
Yeah.
But doesn't necessarily have to be before Sadie's question.
Right. I think we should both independently write our little, what do we call those? Like the brief snapshot characterization.
Brief independent characterization.
We would normally do that at this point, so we should do that for sure.
All right. Yes, that's a good idea. Thanks. Let's do it.
Okay. Well, cool. Looking forward to next week.
Sounds good to me.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.